Gilmore to Andrechuk, shooting, score! Dave Andrechuk hits the 50 mark, down the backing, Clark races him. Holy Mackinac, he's got three!
Good morning, Maple Leafs fans. Welcome to a new episode of the Leafs Lounge for Tuesday, May 19th. Welcome, as always, by Justin Kudo, co-host. What's going on, Justin?
Not too much. A nice, enjoyed weekend for me, at least. Besides the Leafs collapse on Saturday night, which we will get into, but at least they lost in style. I don't know what your thoughts are about the St. Pat's uniforms, but every year I love seeing the green and white come out, and the brown pants too. It's a great contrast with one another.
Yeah, no, it's for sure a great look. It would be nice if they could wear them for more games than just kind of the one. But yeah, the green and white is sharp for sure. Love it. Yeah. Love it. Didn't love the result. But yeah, as you said, we're definitely dissect that in more detail shortly. Just for the audience, just a little change want to communicate out to you guys. Very exciting news, actually. So Sports Fluent Media, who you guys might be aware, have been distributing and helping support our content here and our show. And we love the partnership with them and them helping us out. They have actually found a partnership with Chilltown Hoops. If you're not familiar with them, check them out. The guy is an unbelievable basketball content creator. Great show. Always has great guests on and just great discussions. So if you're an NBA fan like Justin and I are, definitely check out some of those episodes. But you will find our episodes now on Chilltown Hoops YouTube page. You will still find it on Sports Fluent, YouTube, and Facebook. But definitely want to encourage you guys to check out Chilltown Hoops. Subscribe to the channel, and you'll definitely find all our past episodes and any upcoming ones as well through that page. So want to welcome Chilltown Hoops. Very excited to be a part of the team.
And who do you have winning the NBA championship this year then?
Oh, yeah, staying on NBA content. I still like Denver a lot. I mean, it's probably the easy teams to pick. I like Boston and Denver. If I had to pick, I'd say the Celtics.
Yeah, and I'd probably stick with the Nuggets. I just don't see anybody beating them in 7. So
yeah, they're still tough. Basically have most of the same guys that won it last year. So tough to really go against them as long as they're healthy. But yeah, it's going to be a tough path for either team. But yeah, I think it could very well be Celtics and the Nugs in the final, and that would be pretty sweet. That would be a good final.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah. All right. So let's turn the page, get back to hockey and Leaf content. We'll do a quick recap. Justin, we were talking before we jumped on. You went out for St. Patty's, got to enjoy a couple cold beverages, I'm sure. So hopefully that allowed you to maybe not focus too much on what was happening on the TV at the bar and the ice. But from what you did catch, what were your thoughts on the game?
Well, I'll actually start with Thursday against the Flyers. Okay. You know, after it was 4 days off between their games Saturday, then bounce back on Thursday. We spoke about it, and I said before, I think this is the Leafs puck line game, and you hit the over on it. I was like, over 7, Leafs puck line, and it hit. I was like, oh.
You did. You called it.
So I felt pretty good looking at that. Just a great game. I thought that was one of the more complete games from the Leafs up until the last 2 minutes when that shorthanded goal happens. When I don't know if you want to get into that, but that was just hilarious from both sides. But
well, I mean, I think you almost expect that that's a possibility when you put. I think Ryan Reeves was probably out on that power play when they got to Shorty. You're probably not too surprised when you get one going back in your net when you have Revo out for a power play.
It's because I think Keefe obviously threw out the first power play unit,
right?
With whatever it was, a minute and a half left, and they're up 7-2. Yeah. And the coach took offense to that. He was like, "Don't do that."
Soft.
So Keefe kind of gave him the middle finger and said, okay, let's I'll throw Ryan Reeves out there on the power play. So
Yeah, like I always wonder, like, is that what you prefer? Like, if you're a team that's getting the piss beat out of you, and the coach has, and the winning team, the leading team has a power play, are you more insulted if they throw out the top guys because they're still saying, hey, you know what? Maybe this team still is going to put up a fight. We want to have our best guys out there. Or are you more insulted when they throw out like Ryan Reeves? Like, I
yeah,
don't know.
exactly.
I don't know what I'd prefer, but it seems like it's more about, oh, you're going to really put like Matthews and Nylander out there again and try to run up the score?
And
Like,
Keefe made the point that he was like, I have tired guys on the bench. Like I didn't want to put them out there, but
right.
like they were the guys who were freshest to go, so they had to go. And that's
Yeah,
Keefe likes when the Leafs are up by a lot. He sits down Matthews and Nylander, and especially in a
for
game
sure.
like against the Flyers, where you could tell it was starting, tensions were rising. The
Hmm.
Flyers always play a very physical and in your face style game. And so I'd love to see what happens tonight with Torts back behind the bench. Maybe the
Yeah.
Flyers have something they're still holding on to, a little grudge match.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to the game tonight. Should be another physical affair. Revo back in the lineup, so we're obviously talk about that. But yeah, then I mean, with the Carolina game, it just for me just that event, similar kind of lack of execution, I should say, where you got they were up 3-0, then they were up 4-2, and allowed Carolina to come back. Sebastian Aho scored the 2 goals to tie it up. And you kind of just look at what happened there. The guys who were on the ice for the final goal, the tying goal that Carolina got, it's William Nylander, it's TJ Brody, McMahon, Tavares were out there, and I think Jake McCabe was also out there. So I don't have a problem with McMahon. I don't have a problem with JT being out there because he was about 70% in the dot for the game going into that draw. So I
Yeah,
got why he was there. Nylander and Brody. Brody was on for 3 of the 4 Carolina goals in that game. Obviously 2 before that one, but it kind of made me question why he would be on the ice there. And then William Nylander. Like, I get it on PKs where, maybe the opposing power play isn't as potent or lethal. You're thinking offense. You're thinking if Nylander can break up a pass and head down the ice and maybe get a scoring chance. I get that. I get trying to be aggressive and opportunistic,
yeah.
but I don't know. You're up 4-3. Carolina has the second best power play in the NHL. I'm thinking, I don't care if I win the game 5-3. I'd prefer just to make sure I win the game 4-3.
Yeah.
So why is Nylander on the ice? I turn it over to you to tell me why.
Well, I guess with Kampf in the box, and obviously without Marner and Yarncroke, who would be, I think that's your finishing three in a lot of lineups. Like those are
Right.
the three you're going to finish with. If you look at the roster, I don't. It's a kind of it's poor lineup decisions. Like what Keefe has blind faith in some guys. We saw it with Kerfoot, Engvall, and Hall for so many years. He has his guys that he
Yep.
just really loves and he believes in them. And it's
Yep.
a blessing and a curse because it obviously helps give guys confidence when they lack it. But sometimes guys like Brody should not be out there at the end of the game with the way he's been playing this year. And I just think it's his blind faith that he believes in Brody so much that he'll get the job done. And
Yep.
every time Brody's letting him down. And it's kind of exactly what we witnessed with Hall for so many years. Like I think Hall had moments where he made good plays, but then he'd just have the biggest brain fart that gets so highlighted. And you're like, Keith, you have to stop putting this guy in situations where he's going to fail. And
Right.
at this point, you have to give Brody really sheltered minutes in order for him to start feeling better. But I think that you're obviously more on top of Keefe than I am when it comes to his choices with the roster. it's tough to lose, but in that kind of game, especially to a team like Carolina, who a lot of people view as a cup contender and a real playoff threat. But Carolina's a really good team as well. So being up
For
4-2
sure.
late in a game, especially in today's game, it doesn't really it's not the same as 4-2 lead 5-6 years ago with the skill.
No, for sure. And I think that's a valid point. I mean, it's not, it's not like everyone has to start, a lot of the narratives, if you were on social media, a lot of kind of broadcast reporters, we're all kind of saying, oh my God, here we go again. Leafs can't hold a lead. And I'm kind of at, not at that extreme where it's like, oh my God,
The
again.
thing is, every team you point me
Yeah.
a team that hasn't blown a 2-goal lead in the third period.
No, absolutely. It happens to every team. I would say there definitely feels like there's more than you would like to see with this team. And I'm not saying it's the only team it happens to, but definitely I think some of these situations, like Carolina on Saturday, feel not, I don't want to say you can completely avoid ever having that kind of situation, but you put yourself in a better position for it to not happen. And I get it. No Marner, no Yarncroke, but I wouldn't have Nylander as one of
No.
my first 7, 8, 9 forwards out there. Like,
But
give me
then
almost
who
anyone else.
then who is it? Are you putting a Holmberg in there? And I don't know. I
Yep.
didn't really catch the game, but was maybe Holmberg was out there the shift prior, so someone else had to go in his stead. Then
Yeah. I
who
mean,
else?
again,
'Cause you're not going to
yeah,
put. I'll go through Bertuzzi. You're not putting out there in that spot. Domi, you're
no,
not putting out there in that
not
spot. You're
Domi.
probably not putting Nyes out in that spot. You're probably not putting Robertson in that spot. You're definitely not putting Revo in that spot. And then you have that leaves you with Kampf, Dewar,
Doer.
JT for faceoffs, Nylander, Holmberg, and Matthews. It's
Yeah.
half your roster that you believe in, and you need 6 guys that can go.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I get it. There might not be that obvious, like, oh my God, if Dewar was out, we definitely wouldn't have given up that tying goal. I'm not suggesting that. But to me, I think Nylander, statistically, and Brody as well, you look at the goals against per 60 that both these guys have, and they're both the worst on the team. Like Brody defensively, worst on the team. Nylander for forwards, worst on the team. So I get it. It's not an obvious, we don't have that shutdown two-way forward that you can really throw out there based on what he's making. You would have hoped it would be David Kampf, but clearly it's not. And he was having a rough game Saturday in the dot.
Well, he
So
did
I don't
score,
think
though.
he did score a goal. Yeah, he did. But yeah, there's not many great options. So I get that. It just Nylander, Brody can't be who you put over the board.
No,
Cannot be.
no. And for me, it's more lack of Brody. I'm more fine with Nylander, even though because it's who else do we have that'll play the wing, right? It's like him or Holmberg at that point. So you don't have a lot of options. But Brody, I feel like we have so many lefty. What did you bring Edmondson in for if you're not going to play him at the end of the game? Maybe
Exactly.
maybe he was out there the shift before and he needed the break. I don't know. But what do you have Edmondson in for? Like you have, if McCabe was out there, I guess you're paying Riley 7.5. Give him a chance. Let him do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Liljegren.
yeah,
Lily played really good against the Flyers.
yeah, he fell back a little bit against Carolina, which tends to happen with him. I find when they play heavier teams, good forechecking teams, Lily kind of folds like a piece of paper for me, and I worry about that come postseason. I've seen that too often with him. But yeah, it just comes down to, you brought in guys like Lyubushkin. You've got Edmondson now. You didn't play Benoit, but he was available to you, and he will play tonight. We're talking about the Philly lineup, what it looks like in a bit. But it just feels like there are better options. I definitely appreciate that Sheldon Keefe does not have the same options afforded to him that Rod Brindamore in Carolina has, that, Vegas has, that Colorado has. I get it. Tree Living still has a lot of work to get the blue line to look anywhere close to some of those teams. But Keefe, as you called out, he always reverts back to, okay, Brody's going to be my guy. If there's a penalty kill situation, closing minutes, we have the lead. Brody, you're our guy. But it's like, well, dude, has he ever helped you protect a lead this year? Statistically, It hasn't been that. He's fishing out pucks out of our net pretty much every time. So why keep going back to him? Anyways.
Yeah,
that's kind of my rant there.
That's the most frustrating part, right? Because you're just like, why do you keep running out the same thing if it's not working? If Brody and McCabe are not helping protect your lead, try something else.
Yeah, please. So why don't we kind of get into, because I think it's a good segue into from yesterday, projected lineup. Here's what they kind of went with at the skate. We know Mitch Marner did not join the team on the road trip, nor did Lyubushkin. Got to think both will be unavailable for tomorrow night against Washington as well. But we'll cross that bridge when we need to. So here's what we're looking at. Bertuzzi, Matthews, Holmberg. Do we like this? Do we not like it?
Overall, I don't mind the forward lines. I think it's a good distribution of your offensive talent.
It's balanced.
I feel like it's quite balanced between three lines. Yeah. So
yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. I think Matthews is fully capable of carrying that line, as is Nylander with Domi and McMahon. I think McMahon brings a little bit more defensive mindedness to that line, which will help compared to if it was Bertuzzi there in his spot. Then the third line, I actually like the third line quite a bit. I know Robertson scored in his return to the lineup, so keep them together, see what you can do.
Yeah, I think with what you have available, I have not much issue. There's a lot of talk on you can't be playing Holmberg on line one, but they already tried Nylander with Bird and Matthews. Didn't look that great. And I think to what we're talking about here, I think the balance is probably the best strategy when you have guys like Marner, Yarncroke out. When Marner comes back in, I definitely want to see Domi get kicked back out to the wing. I think he's played some really good hockey lately playing on the wing. And I don't know about the Domi Nylander combo. I haven't seen that look very good in terms of chemistry, but for right now, might be the best that we've got. What I don't like, moving on to the D, is Brody back with Riley on the right side.
Once again, it's him falling back onto what he's most comfortable with.
Old Faithful.
And I mean, it's good. I would like to see it have a really short leash, though.
That pairing, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first or second screw up tonight, pull it right away and change it up.
Oh, so you're saying within the first 2 minutes of the game then?
Yeah. No, sure. I mean, Edmonton has a lot of experience this year playing on the right side. Let's see it. Try it.
Yeah.
Give him a chance to play with Riley. Let's see it happen. I don't think they've played together yet, so
for sure.
Why not?
And I totally get without Lyubushkin, who obviously would normally be paired with Riley. There's not many better options. So I get it. I just think, be a little bit more creative. Don't be putting Brody back there when you know that won't work. I know Benoit and McCabe has probably been one of their better, especially in the D zone, one of their better pairs. So I get wanting to keep them together. Edmondson and Lilly has looked okay as a pair. So maybe it just, I don't know where else to put Brody. If that's all that is, fine.
But if that's the case, and you're liking Benoit and McCabe together, and you're liking Edmondson and Lilly together, then when Lyubushkin comes back, that means Brody's the seventh guy all of a sudden.
But we know he won't be. We know he won't be. We know Benoit, Lilly, one of those two guys will come out first. And I think, most Leaf fans, not that we have all the answers, but most Leaf fans wouldn't have it the same way Keefe does, that Brody is a mainstay, whether on the first pairing or the second pairing. To me, I think he should be looked at as potentially the odd man out. especially when you start going into the postseason where we know how Brody's going to look against the Bruins or against Florida. I'd like to know how our blue line will look with either Benoit, Edmondson, or McCabe pretty much on the ice every shift.
Yeah, and I think I would love to see what the team looks like with Brody sitting down a few. Like what you've done with Benoit, maybe Brody just needs the reset. Maybe his body just needs a little bit time off to recoup. And you give him 2 to 3 games off. Maybe next week he just takes the week off. And we see LaBush come back in and we see that we run that 6. Or maybe, give Timmins a chance. Timmins is just sitting around at this point. Give him a shot.
Yeah, like he's ready to go and obviously offers that right shot, ability to move the puck. If you were going to use him on power play 2, he's got a decent shot, gets pucks through quite a bit. So I think he could be an option, but it seems like he has to pass Lily to get into the lineup. I don't think you're playing Lily and Timmins in the same game. It's one or the other. So, yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see if Lily, falls back in terms of his performance. Maybe Timmins gets a shot. And Gio, I mean, I don't know if he does get back into games. Probably. He's on LTIR. I think that's more a, to manage a cap situation versus actually needing him to be on LTIR unless something else kind of came up for him injury-wise. But, yeah, we might have seen Gio play his last game, not only as a Leaf, but in the NHL. But we'll have to see.
And I think the power play units, I'm just trying to find it now. I believe it was Liljegren in Riley's spot, and they kind of flipped the two.
Right.
The last time I saw it.
Yeah, there was a flip there for sure. So, I mean, I don't know. Like maybe this isn't what they go with tonight, but, seems to be the latest and greatest. I don't know if they're going to be, probably won't be a full skate today, so we probably won't find out until the warm-up. Have you heard anything? I don't know if they've announced. I assume Samsonov will be going tonight.
It looks like it's going to be Samsonov, yeah.
I was surprised that they didn't want him to go against his former team tomorrow and play Wall tonight. I was surprised they didn't do that.
I'm not exactly sure how Samsonov's played in those kind of redemption games in the past.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have a weird feeling that they haven't gone especially well.
Yeah, that might be true. But if like Samsonov is, right now, today, your number one guy, and I get it, you want to give yourself the best chance to win. So if you think Philly is a tougher opponent, which
I think they're around equal. So
right,
I think they're around equal. So just don't ruin anything. Just go boom, boom.
Yeah,
doesn't matter the rotation there. And I guess Wolves gonna get another start. Is it Sunday or?
Yeah, they go back to back again. Saturday, Sunday. It's Edmonton Saturday, and then is it who do they got on Sunday?
In that game, I think for Edmonton on Saturday night, it's going to be big marquee matchup. Matthews, McDavid. It will be whoever plays better between Samsonov and Wool. I think this in the next 2 days, I think it'll come down to that.
Yeah, potentially. It's actually they're playing in Carolina Sunday. How tough is that back to back? Home in Edmonton, then you go play on the road in Carolina. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
No. Not ideal is a good way to put it for sure. I'm actually going to be in the barn for the Edmonton game Saturday. Little humble brag there. So hopefully they have a good effort.
Hopefully you see a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like last time I went to a Leaf game, it was 9-3 Buffalo. So,
oh wow,
we're staying out.
Yeah, I think the one thing, and I know obviously both Edmonton and Toronto aren't exactly run and gun teams like they've been in the past. So, even though I'll probably be placing a bet on the over in that Leafs Edmonton game, I guarantee it's going to be like a 3-2 type game. But
anytime you have the chance to watch McDavid live, though, you have to take it.
Oh yeah.
He is just unreal.
Yeah, and I feel the Zach Hyman anytime goal is free free money.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a power play goal, because
Yeah.
the Leafs PK right now is
Awful,
just
right?
I can't even put it into words to like it is
Speechless.
I d it feels like it's every game going back a couple weeks now where it's at least one,
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
allowed one against Carolina. They gave one up. Tippett scored against for the Flyers on Thursday. On the Saturday, the Habs scored one.
Yeah.
Before that, I think it
Awful.
was I don't think the Sabres scored, but the Rangers might have scored one. Just going back the last few weeks, I feel like every game there's a power play goal against, and it's something that I thought Keefe would have figured out by now, and it looked like they started to find a little bit of a groove and a rhythm a few months, like maybe a month and a half ago, where there was like a 25 for 26 stint where they
Yeah.
killed off nearly everything, and now we're back to every game they're giving one up. And if in playoffs especially, it's really important to have special teams that work. And right now,
Huge.
neither of the Leafs special teams are working at all.
No.
So,
No, they're
I
not.
mean,
And like,
at least you're having the troubles now and not in April. But this is something you need to figure out fast.
yeah. And unfortunately, April is like 2 weeks away, less than 2 weeks away. So we're not talking about like, yeah, you can figure this out as the season goes. Yeah, you got to figure it out like right now, pretty much. Who are your penalty killing guys? Because part of those struggles on the PK are with the typical guys, the culprits like Brody, Nylander, David Camp, even when Mitch Marner and Yarncroke were playing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not like these guys were
I don't think it's a
shutting
matter
down power plays.
I don't think it's a matter of who's out there. It's their structure and their commitment to like overall defense.
Yeah,
That's
I think it's a
that's the
little bit of
problem,
column
because
A, a little bit of column B.
this is pretty much the same penalty kill that minus obviously Kerfoot, but this pretty much everything else is equal to what we had last year when we were, I think, top 12, top 13.
Right. Yeah, our special teams were very
So
good. And the personnel, I mean, you could say, well, our PK was good last year after we brought in Ryan O'Reilly and Achari was there, Shen. But I don't think that was the only thing that made the PK and or forget about the power play, the PK look good. The PK was pretty good last year before those ads.
yeah,
So it's not just the acquisitions that we made at the trade deadline or just before. So I don't know. Is there a different approach, whether is Sheldon Keefe letting, I don't know, Mike Van Ryn handle the PK or handle out who goes out there? We know Boucher has the power play. It just seems like same problems now that we saw. The power play in the postseason last year was actually pretty decent, but prior years, it's
until
always been a
they
problem.
were good. They were good until we needed a goal. You
Right.
know,
Like it was good in round one, was not good against Florida. Clearly, we couldn't score at all against Florida.
yeah, and I think the power plays in the 1 for 20, 1 for 19 kind of area, maybe even
Sounds about
worse
right.
than that.
Yeah.
And you have two chances to ice the game against the Canes. I saw that one in overtime they had, and it's like
Yeah.
I know Marner's not out there, but you still have four guys who make a combined maybe $45 million, including a guy who
Got
might
to
score
find a way.
70 this year. You're gonna have
Yeah.
200-point guy. You have 200-point guys on that power play. Put the game away.
Yeah. Well, and especially with the amount of ice you have there, right? Because that's a 4-on-3 power play. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
there's a ton of ice. You got to find a way to get the puck to Matthews. Like, I think they got a couple decent scoring chances. Riley had one too, but
Yeah.
Nylander fumbled a puck and it got shot out of the zone. Like, that can't happen. Like, 4-on-3 power play, that attacking team, it has to be a freaking shooting gallery the
Mhm.
entire time. And the only way the puck doesn't go in the net is if the goalie's like standing on his head. And that wasn't what happened. We weren't hitting the net
Yeah.
and we lost control of the puck. So, like, I guess on the power play, I don't know if you saw the change they made. They're taking Riley off power play 1, and
Yeah.
they've got Lily there. Now, I want to know from you if you're buying or selling this theory or explanation from Sheldon Keefe. So he's saying without Mitch Marner in the lineup, they want Lily and the right-handed shot. That is why the change is made. Do you think that's all that's at play here, or do you think this is a Riley demotion?
I think that it's Keefe going back to what he saw was working while Riley was suspended for that 5-6 game stretch,
Right.
where the power play was clicking every time, it felt like. And I think it's, if you look, I think it feels more like a demotion for Riley, but it's Keefe saying that this is the easiest choice to make, because you can't take Matthews off power play 1, you can't take Nylander off power play 1. So it kind of, Riley's that he's the guy that you just have to take him off then.
Yeah,
He's the
because he's
easy
not
switch.
driving enough of that power play.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
he's
not-
not
he's
your
not important
prototypical
enough.
quarterback.
No, he's not he's not the quarterback of the power play, exactly, because the quarterback is Marner. Marner's the
Right.
quarterback of the power play. He is the guy that the puck's always on a stick and he's distributing. Right.
Yeah.
So maybe that's hurting the power play, but it was even suffering while he was here, though. Like
100%. 100%. And
just
I
like the
don't think
penalty kill, right? The penalty kill was bad while we had Marner, and it's just gotten worse without him. But
for sure. Yeah, like I think with the change that he made on power play 1, like I support it. I think it should have happened sooner. Because for me, like, look, I get the whole idea of Riley being our number 1 D-man, and he's some kind of elite offensive defenseman according to Leaf fans. But I've had a lot of I've been very critical of Morgan Riley because I've seen his role on the power play, as we're talking about here. It's he is expected to be that facilitator, because we know he's not a shooter. He doesn't have a clapper that's going to, intimidate or cause the penalty killing unit to really move their strategy or their defense or pressure away from Nylander or Matthews. They still know when Riley has the puck, the only threats are the guys who don't have the puck, Whereas when you have Lily out there, he can actually take a shot and he will shoot. And mostly it's accurate. Mostly it's at least a decent, velocity where it actually keeps your penalty kill honest. So I like having Lily in there. It just, again, it goes back to Riley, and, I love what he means for the team. All heart, that guy. He obviously always takes his game up a level in the playoffs, but shit, like if he's your number 1 defenseman, who we know is a one-dimensional offensive guy, and he can't even be on your power play 1, it really just, paints a tough picture of what Riley's value is going forward. Like, and I'm not saying he won't get back on the first power play, but the fact that it's even consideration to take Riley off the power play for a guy who, not to insult Timothy Liljegren, but I will, because it's Timothy Liljegren who is the option on power play 1 now. It's like, geez, like some Leaf fans might have to change their perspective on Riley.
Yeah, and I still view Riley super positive. I'm one of those Leaf fans who will support Riley all the way.
All right.
Because I just, like, you glossed over it, but just what he means to the team and how he has elevated his game every time in the postseason. Every time the fans are saying Riley can't do it, he's not worth it. He's like, we have to get rid of Riley. He'll go out in the postseason and everybody starts loving him again. He does it every year. He's not the reason why we lose series.
No, he's not. But he also isn't really moving the needle, I would say, because clearly we're not winning.
I think he was probably the most important player in the Tampa series. I don't think
I agree with that. I agree. I think
say.
that's fair. Yeah. I mean, I think in game 3 and 4, it was definitely like Matthews' heroics. I mean, I don't think there was any other player on the team who would score the goals that he did the way he did. But yeah, I think you could easily make the case that Riley was our most important and valuable player in round one. I agree with that.
Yeah, so and it's Keefe saying that this. I don't view this as just a Riley demotion. I think that it's a bad look on the entire power play. For this is what it's come to, is that now we have to basically split up the units
Yeah,
because your first unit is just not clicking right now.
right. Yeah, because you're putting Riley on power play too, but we know with the way they manage the ice time on the power play, that power play too, it will be lucky to even get on the ice.
But if the power play one's not clicking at all, I wouldn't be
You
opposed
have
to
to.
just having a 45-second, and then if the puck comes out of the zone twice, get them off.
Oh, for sure. You'd have to at that point. I just mean like if the power play is clicking like it was, as you called out when Riley was out of the lineup suspended, if the power play one is clicking, then Riley's not getting any power
Yeah,
play time at all.
and he shouldn't. Yeah,
Right
you
now,
have
yeah.
to you have to go with what's working.
I agree. I agree. So before we move off the game tonight, any predictions on tonight for those who want to, like myself, those who want to place a bet? What do you like? I don't know if you've seen the lines. I can pull it up quickly to see what we're looking at. We've got an over of 6.5, and the Maple Leafs are a minus 134 money line favorite on the road.
I'd run right back with the over. Yeah, I just the Leafs are I think that they have Harrison's number at this point,
Yeah,
and
he got
it's
yanked last game.
and
Yeah,
Harrison's confirmed starter, so
right.
I think they just have his number at this point. I see the Leafs winning once again. Maybe it's not going to be another 6-2 game, no, because Torts will stay right on top of them. And I said this before on last Thursday. I said, since Torts is not on that bench, if the Leafs are able to jump out to a little lead, then that team's they're going to be shattered, and they don't have that guy behind the bench that's going to whip them back into shape. And that's what happened. So maybe a 4-2, 5
Yeah,
5-3 kind of game where it's right around that over underline. It's a good line. 7 goals is always hard.
yeah, for sure. I think I agree with the way you're seeing the game in terms of the offense that could be generated. I almost like the away team goals over 3.5 because I think to your point, there's a chance that maybe Philly can sewer that over if it's like a 4-2 type game. I'm not sure if Philly puts in enough, so I might lean towards the Toronto team total over 3.5. You're getting plus money on that right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think if you want to just get a nice little cheap one in, Matthews at any time, it's going to hit. He scored
I mean,
natural hat trick 2 times ago, scored again last game.
yeah,
So,
actually, I want to see what, because I mean, obviously, he's not really, I mean, I guess you could say he's been a little bit cold
he's been a little bit
relative to
cold.
what he's been doing before, but I want to see so he's minus 120, anytime goal scorer. That feels like a little bit too much juice. I don't know. But the way he's on a little bit of a cold streak, I'm not sure if I play that one, but it feels like you can kind of take a swing at it every game. But at minus 120, I'm not sure if it's tasty enough for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so one thing I wanted to ask you about, kind of switching over from the Leafs for a little bit, in terms of what you see today, NHL Stanley Cup favorites. Doesn't have to be in ranking order, but if you wanted to go at it, go for it. Who are your top 5 Stanley Cup favorites right now?
Well, I told you right before we hopped on, I said I think there's 6 teams in the East I could see in the conference final, but not each of those 6 teams, Boston, Florida, Toronto, Tampa, Carolina, New York, not each of those teams could win the cup, nor even make it to the
Right.
Stanley Cup final, in my eyes, at least.
Okay.
Now, a few weeks ago, I actually said I don't think the Canes have what it takes to make the Cup Finals. Then they go out and trade for Gensel, and now
You're in now.
I think I might have been swung over to the other side. I think the Canes have the goal scoring they've needed. I'm not going to have them number one. I think they're probably my 5th Stanley Cup favorite if in my ranking order, starting 5-1. I would put them at 5. I think they're one of the bigger threats in the East.
Okay.
Every single year, I feel like in the playoffs, and I went back and I did a little research in order to back this up. It feels like every year the Canes lose because they're not scoring enough goals in the games.
Right.
If I feel like they're losing 2-1, 3-0, 4-1 kind of games. And I go back and I was right. They're not scoring a lot of goals. When they got swept by Florida last year, it was a quick series.
Oh, yeah.
Literally. They were scoring. It was like 2-1, 1-0, 3-1. And it's just games that now that added goal scoring that Gensel brings. Gensel has
Kuzi and Kuzi.
Yeah, Kuzi as well. These are proven playoff guys that, could be a difference maker come playoff time when the going gets tough.
Well, and also don't forget, they didn't have Svechnikov last year in the postseason. So you add him into the playoff mix. You add Gensel, Kuznetsov.
And I guess Orlov's there now as well.
Orlov's starting to come alive now that his BFF Kuznetsov is with him.
Yeah.
So he's finally playing well. So, yeah, I think Carolina deserves to be in there. Okay, so you got Carolina at 5.
Yeah, so at 4, I'd probably put Edmonton at 4.
Okay.
I think a lot of people are higher on Edmonton, but at the end of the day, it comes down to goaltending.
Yeah,
and I don't know if I fully can buy into Stuart Skinner. I know he's had a decent season since his really bad start.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I can fully buy into it. And although I'd love to see McDavid lift the cup because he is my favorite non-Leaf player and I think consensus top player in the NHL. I just don't I don't know. I don't want another Canadian team to win the cup before the Leafs do.
Yeah, I guess there's a little bit of that Canadian pride. If the Leafs aren't in it anymore, would you like to see Edmonton, Winnipeg, Vancouver win it? For me, there might be a little bit of that.
I think Winnipeg are complete frauds, and I don't care. I think the Jets are complete frauds. I think if the Jets do not win the division, which that Central is really close.
It's tight right now.
If they don't win the division,
they're in first now.
Exit. They're first round exit if they do not win that division. Because they're not better than Dallas and they're not better than Colorado.
Yeah, so all 3 of those teams are tied with 91. Winnipeg has the edge because they got the games in hand right now. But I agree. If they drop down to 2 or 3 and have to face Colorado or Dallas, especially if they have to go on the road, I think they are one and done.
So then that brings me to number 3, where I have the Leafs.
Oh, okay.
They're my favorite coming out of the East.
Wow.
Not just because of my bias, but
clearly not.
I think it's about damn time.
No bias at all. I don't think anyone would think that. No way.
I think it's just about time.
Okay, fair enough.
They have the ingredients for success. They have 14 guys who are going to finish with 20 plus points. And, 20 plus points may not seem like a lot, but the only team in the East with more guys that'll finish with 20 plus points is Carolina.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that in that sense, there's going to be guys on the Leafs like the Bobby McMahons, like the Nick Robertson if he gets in the lineup, like the David Camp, the occasional goal. That could be the difference in a game, in an overtime, in a series. And I think that if the Leafs, as we've discussed a lot, if they figure out their penalty kill, especially, because I know the power play will get clicking again, because anything with Matthews, Marner, and Nylander is going to get going at around 25%. If the PK can stay good, and we get over the hump in round one, which obviously seems like the hardest part, facing our Atlantic rivals, I can see us going all the way because I don't think
Okay.
I've never seen the Leafs face a team from the Metro in the playoffs. I just don't. I think the Metro's soft. The Atlantic's
Okay.
where all the good teams are. So
Yeah. I think most people see that as like if the Leafs were going to drop to the wild card and maybe do the crossover, face the Rangers or Carolina, I think people would be a little bit more optimistic
yeah, I
about
know
their
it's
chances.
crazy how it works,
It's
eh?
it's the total gauntlet that we know they're going to have to go through in all likelihood. Boston or Florida in round one, and then the other team in round two. So I think that's where people are like, yeah, round one, round two, max for this team. But okay, now I'm really curious because you only have two teams left. So I can't wait to see who's left out now for you. Who's number two?
It's I have the Stars at 2.
Okay. Okay.
I for a while I had the Stars at 1, but they switch. I think I'm putting the Avs at number 1. Two teams from the Central.
Okay.
I think if they face in round one, I think the winner of that series is going all the way.
So the
I really
defending
hope.
yeah,
I
defending cup
really
champions
hope.
aren't there for you.
What Vegas has played bad hockey for 3 months. They
Yeah,
had a really good
they're
start to
bringing
the
in
year.
they're bringing all new players in for game one.
They had a really strong start to the year, but now
Uh-huh.
it's like, oh, they just it feel like they're just slipping. And right now they're hiding in that second wild card spot, and that's a dangerous place to be, especially if your first round matchups Vancouver, who I'm not sure if I'm completely in on Vancouver either because of how much they rely on, Demko to be outstanding and that power play to be clicking so heavily.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much I believe in Vancouver. Yeah, another notable admission from my list is Winnipeg. I can't do it with Winnipeg. I just
Yeah.
for,
So
for a lot of the same reasons I never believed in Carolina, I don't believe
yeah.
in Winnipeg. I don't think that they don't have a guy that's going to win the series for them.
So you don't have not only Vegas, you also don't have Florida.
No.
I think that would be considered a very hot take. We might have to pin this episode to make sure, because I think for a lot of people, they're definitely going to make my top five. But it's interesting. I like kind of the differing opinions on teams like Boston, Florida, uh, Vancouver, Winnipeg, all those teams not in your top five.
Well,
Like,
I look at it like the Stars they're 12 deep. On their forward lines, they're 12 deep. Every
I
single
like Dallas.
line can
Yeah.
score. And their biggest question mark this year has actually been the play of Jake Ottinger. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that he has a level that he can get to in the playoffs that we saw against Calgary a couple of years ago. I think he has that capability to turn it on when it matters more.
Yeah.
So I'm not really worried about him. And I think Dallas is just a great team from top to bottom. They have good leadership with Jamie Benn. They have that ability to get into a scrappy game. They have big boys on the back end like
Mm-hmm.
Hawkenpaw and Tanev, right? They
Yeah.
have the skill. I feel like they can play with any team in the league,
Yeah.
which is just when you compare them to Colorado, if Colorado does in fact get Landeskog back, which it just would put them over the top for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like Colorado's got I think they have 3 lines of really good talent. And they have a really good power play. They're going to have someone who either wins the Hart or finishes second in the Hart voting.
Yeah.
A guy that either wins Norris or finishes second in Norris voting.
Yeah.
And another couple great defensemen who are just underappreciated, like Josh Manson and Devon Tays.
Yeah. And now Sean Walker, too. They got a
Yeah.
really good D. I like them a lot. Okay. So here's where I'm at. I'm going to go top to bottom. So my number one cup favorite, I'm going with Colorado as well. They're my number one right now. I think they're the just in terms of top to bottom, what they offer, back end, forward group, high end talent, the physicality they added at the trade deadline. I got them in the number 1 spot. Number 2, I got to go with the defending Cup champions, Vegas. I think that defense they've got is lethal. Where I worry about them is obviously where they're sitting right now. They're in like a wild card spot, I think tied with the Kings for 3rd place in the Pacific.
Yeah.
Definitely need to see them creep up a little bit
They're
in
only
the standings.
4 points up on the Blues.
I know. It's
a
so tight there.
slope to out of the playoffs for them, and that's why I'm nervous. Because if
That's
Vegas has to go all out all the way to game 82, it puts them at a disadvantage against, or maybe an advantage depending on where you look at it, compared to a team like Vancouver who kind of like float right now and just round out their game because they have the division wrapped up.
No, 100%. I think there's definitely that, concern with putting them at number 2 for me that, they might not even make it into the postseason. I don't see them being on the outside looking in. I still think they're find a way, and whether they're playing Edmonton, LA, Vancouver, I'd put them as a very heavy favorite because I just think they're way better than those teams. Then my number 3 is going to be Florida. I think they've been the most impressive team from the start of the year until now. I don't think they have hit the skids a little bit lately, I guess, relative. Lost 2 in a row. But I still think that, looking at the way they play, the way they're coached, Bobrovsky's been playing well, the toughness they have throughout their lineup, I got them at number 3. Then I would put Dallas at number 4. Like them as well. And then I'm going Rangers at 5.
Rangers at 5, really?
Also a team that you didn't have. I like the Rangers. They got the goaltending. Well-balanced team. They can play physical. They got talent. I've got them at 5. I think that
you're also sleeping on the Jets then.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I don't know if they're absolute frauds, but not that far off. Do
you think they would beat, if they don't win the division, do you think they would beat the Stars or the Avs in the first round?
No, I don't. And that's why I have them outside looking in, because I think either Dallas or Colorado will finish in first.
Yeah.
Obviously, that remains to be played out. But if the Jets, as we talked about, if they fall into that 2-3 matchup, I do think they're out in round 1.
Yeah. And no Oilers as well for you.
No Oilers, because I think they're going to be meeting up with Vegas by round 2. And I don't think they get by Vegas. I think they're take care of the Kings for the 3rd year in a row. I hate that that's probably going to be the matchup. It's coming. But I don't think Edmonton will get. I guess if it is the matchup, then I'm saying Edmonton would avoid Vegas because then they play Vancouver in the next round. But I don't see Edmonton getting out of the West.
Even if, is there any guarantee Vancouver can even beat Nashville in the first round?
Definitely no guarantee.
As it shapes up, I wouldn't sleep on Nashville. Nashville's the hottest team in the NHL.
Yep. So they've got the goaltending, they've got the D. I think they could give Vancouver a fight, if not knock them out. Yeah,
exactly. The first round of the playoffs is always the most exciting time for playoff hockey. So
it's tough.
Exciting. We're still a month away. Lots of time.
Totally.
Everything can change.
It's tough, right? Like you've got like 4 Canadian teams that are going to be in the postseason that have all had great regular seasons. But when you start looking at the matchups, it's not tough to find a way that all those teams are gone by round 2.
Maybe even round 1.
Could be. Yeah. Because, Vancouver, we said, could get knocked out. Edmonton, if they play Vegas in round 1, could be done. Winnipeg, we talked about. I know you don't think it's going to happen, but a lot of people obviously feel Toronto. If they're playing Florida in round 1, they're going to be heavy dogs. Heavy dogs.
Really?
Florida?
Actually, I don't think so at all.
Florida? No?
I actually think completely on the contrary. I wouldn't be surprised if the Leafs are favorites.
If they're playing on the road, Florida round 1? Really?
On the road against Florida, really? Does that exist?
Well, it won't actually be a road game. I get what you're saying.
If they're on the road, It's
Yeah.
3 home games and then 4 neutral site games, pretty much.
Basically.
So
But it's not like we did well at home against them in
no,
round 2
exactly,
last
and
year.
we talked about it a couple podcasts ago. The Leafs have been really good on the road, a really dominant road team for a lot of the year. And
For
even in
sure.
the playoffs last year, we won all 3 games against in Tampa, and then we
Yep.
won one
The
of
only
2
one was in Florida. Yeah.
in Florida. So,
Yeah. I'm not worried about starting on the road, but I think if as soon as the matchups come out, whether we're against Boston or Florida, I don't think there's going to be too many. And I get it. Doesn't matter if they are betting against the Leafs or whatever, but I don't think there'll be too many hockey reporters, beat writers that will be taking Toronto over Florida. And I don't think the books will be either.
I don't think there'd be a lot of American sports writers who would take the Leafs over either Boston or Florida at this point. But I think a lot of people in Canada and even Toronto reporters who seemingly hate the Leafs, I think they would. There's a lot of them who would have us to beat Florida, and it'd be kind of more
Really?
split. It'd be more split if it came to Boston. But
Yeah,
right now,
absolutely.
the Leafs have 2 games in hand on Florida, are sitting
Yep.
9 points back, and we have 2 head-to-head games against them.
Yeah.
So we have 2 games in hand and 2 head-to-heads. That's a lot of time to make up ground on Florida, and we'll have an idea of what we're going to expect come playoff time.
No, absolutely. And I think there's time to change the narrative that is probably out there with a lot of broadcasters and reporters who are analyzing series. It just feels like the talk right now is like, yeah, Leafs wouldn't have a chance against Florida. And I don't agree. I'm not saying I do. I just do think they would be a rightfully so an underdog both against Florida, or especially against Florida, and also the Bruins. Not just because of the home ice that those teams would have, but I just think, head to head with the Bruins, I think will factor in for a lot of people. We've lost all 4 games
Yeah,
against the Bruins.
yeah.
I think for a lot of people.
That's why I think it'll be more slightly towards the Bruins if in the odds. If you're just betting straight series winner, where I think it'd be even odds for Florida Toronto, no matter who's home.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, and we'll see how Florida kind of does down the stretch here. As I said earlier, they've lost 2 in a row. Maybe some of the shine comes off Florida if they start hitting the skids a little bit more. It just has felt like up into this point, Florida for a lot of people have been like up here in terms of tiers of Stanley Cup contenders and favorites, that even the thought of could the Maple Leafs be the favorite against them in a series, hasn't really existed for a lot of people.
Right now, the NHL odds books have the rankings as Oilers first at the plus 600, Avs at plus 750, with the Canes, who are also plus 750, and the Rangers, who are plus 750. So the Canes and Rangers are viewed as the favorites in the East, with the Panthers at plus 800, the Canucks at plus 900, and the Bruins at plus 1,000.
Interesting. So I guess the Rangers and Canes are getting a little bit of a lift based on the path, right? Like they're probably thinking like Boston, Florida, Toronto, they're all just going to beat each other up. Whoever comes out of there probably won't have their best effort, or they won't be able to really present the greatest competition for, maybe healthier, more energized Rangers, Carolina. I don't know. Maybe that's the thought there.
Yeah, but
that's interesting.
One of those teams, one of Rangers and Carolina, will have to go through Tampa in the first round. So it's not going to be easy.
It won't be easy. Yeah, like I don't get the Edmonton love, though. Like, they're a really good team, no doubt.
McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Evander
Kane. It hasn't worked
Connor
yet.
Brown.
I get Connor Brown. Yeah, he scored his first goal. He's a sniper now. But, they got to the conference finals once. But I think they lost in 4 or 5 to Colorado. No, the Avalanche. It was here the Avs won the cup.
They made it to the Ducks, against the Ducks as well, right? Or was that second round against the Ducks?
No, it's been a
Oh,
while
boy.
that the Ducks have been in. The
Yeah.
Ducks haven't been in
That
the
was like
postseason for
young McDavid, though.
yeah, but it was Colorado that knocked them out pretty easy fashion. I don't know. I like Edmonton, and I like what they've done with like getting Corey Perry in there, Adam
Yeah.
Henrique. They're a tougher team to play against. I don't know. I just don't see getting past whether it's Vegas, Vancouver, and then also potentially a Dallas or Colorado. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I've seen them as a favorite by a few books, so we will see. All right. I think we're kind of just towards the end. Before we
Yeah.
wrap, just to let the audience know, if you are tuning in to the live, feel free to come on if you want to. We're going to post a link in the comment section. If you got any questions for us or just want to talk or debate a topic, if you want to call us out on any of our hot takes, we'd love to have you join. So you can always just look at the link and let us know when you want to come on, and we're happy to have you aboard. Yeah, that's it for us today. Obviously, hope we get the dub against Philly tonight, and then we'll talk after the
After
Washington
Caps
game as
on
well.
Wednesday.
Yeah, we have 2 games to review, so hopefully we got some good things to discuss on Thursday.
That's great.
All right, man. Enjoy the game tonight and tomorrow.
Yep,
And
you
we'll
too.
chat soon.
For sure. See you then.
All right. See you, everybody.